Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Now, in September 2022, I was lucky enough to board a flight to Vietnam, where I'd be jumping in swamps, climbing up hills, and taking on one of the toughest challenges with an entire group of incredible, crazy, quirky, amazing, and inspiring individuals who I'm lucky enough to call my friends, as we all went over and took part in SAS Who Dares Wins. Now, with any kind of TV production, they are always constrained to fit the absolute best bits into a short window of time. So as you won't be surprised to hear, there is so much more to these individuals than meets the eye. So on this mini series of podcasts, you get to listen in as I catch up with this incredible group of people. We discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly as it comes to SAS Who Dares Wins, our favorite instructors, our biggest challenges, and also learn a little bit more about what drives them, what inspires them, and how this journey was for them. It's been so much fun reminiscing and catching up. So if you are sitting comfortably, let's buckle up for safety and get in there with today's episode. I'll see you on the other side. There she is.
Hello, can you see me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you. You sound great.
Hold on. How are you doing?
I'm wicked. How was your morning? How's the walk?
Yeah, good. It was only a brief one, but I've been up since literally 5 a.m. Body clock, I'm trying to keep my, maybe not 5 a.m., but at least like 6.
Well, I've always kind of been that. Well, actually, that's a lie. I've been that way since maybe I was like 22. Because I realize most people don't get shit done past about 8 p.m. at night anyway. They'll lose themselves in social media, or we watch something on the TV, or if you're lucky, if you got some friends around or whatever, fair enough. But most of the time, you're not really getting anything done. So I've always been like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'll be in bed. So then I'm up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock anyway. You just get loads done before anyone's even awake.
Yeah. It's just like an energy about in that time of morning as well. You just feel like you're the only one awake in the world and you can just get it done. Yeah. So I've done like a new vision board, got a reel ready for later. So yeah, I'm feeling
vision boards. I'm gonna have to write that down in fact, let's go there first. Have you ever done a vision board before?
Yeah, not for very long, because I kind of didn't believe in them for a little while, but no, in the last 3-4 months I've had a vision board, and just not just really month by month what I want to get out of my life and where I want to be going with it. And yeah, I need to be a little bit, I'm looking at it now, but I want to be a little bit more specific. I kind of want to have a view of where I want my life to be and how I want myself to be in that life, and then work backwards and go with what I need to do to get there, if that makes sense.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents, and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. So just zoom out on that for a second for us to help people understand a little bit in case they've never heard it before. When's the first time you were sort of engaged in a vision board? What's your thought process behind it, and why do you think it helps people? Or why do you think it helps you?
Yeah, it's just something that you hear, isn't it? And it's something that, like, goal setting, as a personal trainer, we were taught about goal setting. So it is. It's like, but also I'm obviously a strong believer in, well, not obviously, but I'm a strong believer in affirming and putting out there what you want. And that is then the universe aligns around your beliefs and what you want. And if you don't have a clear direction or a clear path in which you want to go down, let's put out there what we want to be, where we want to be going, and get to where I want to be.
I was going to say, so how do you kind of strike that balance between being, like people might say, open to opportunities and embracing the serendipity of some events versus being rigid with a structure. Because I agree with you, you've got to at least have some kind of a plan. If you don't have a plan, you'll just fit into other people's plans, and they're not horrible people, but they've got fuck all plan for you because they're living their life and they've got their own passions and their own ambitions and their own dreams. How rigid are you with this? Because it sounds like you feel like have you not been rigid enough, or you feel like you haven't really had a plan, or you've just been, where have you been?
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I'm not that rigid. It's like I'm pretty surrendered in life as well. So I just have these kind of goals in which I want to achieve, and they're new since I've come back from our
Really?
experience. I'm like a new person, so I am figuring out, because after our experience, I've got this new sense of like self-love and discipline, and I'm just seeing myself in a way that other people have seen me for a long time, but I haven't been able to see it. So
Wow.
it's like it's very new. This vision board that I've done this morning is still not. I still need to do much more on it. So it's hard for me to answer that question because it is so new. And prior to this, I have been completely surrendered and just let life take me where it wants, and it hasn't led me in a place where I don't want to be at all. I'm very accepting for everything and everywhere, like where I am right now. But yeah, I feel like since coming back, I just want to have more of a say. I want to have a clearer direction in where I want to go, because up until this point, I have just been surrendered and just kind of floated through life. And been very internalized. Like I've spent the last 2-3 years really going inwards, reflecting on myself internally, spending a lot of time on my own, not really going out very much, actually doing less work, like working a part-time hours, just to give me a bit more space, time with my dog, time out in nature. But since coming back, now I'm like, I want to flip it, and I want to be out there. Like I want to get into London. I want to start going out more. I want to like see you guys more and just connect with more like-minded people. I want to go out, get dressed up. I want to start working outside of my flat, outside of my studio, because I live at home and I work from home, and that's been the case for like 5 years.
Wow.
And since coming back from this opportunity, I'm like, and this experience, I'm like, I want to get out there. Like I believe that now that I am worth being out there. Until this time, I've kept myself not small, but contained. And now I'm back and I'm out. I'm like literally bursting that lid open, and I'm where the fuck do you want me? Do you know what I mean?
To talk to me about that self-belief and that discipline, because when I hear you speaking then and having, stalked the hell out of your socials and all that sort of stuff, and obviously having been privileged enough to actually spend some time with you and getting to know you over the past sort of couple of weeks, you've got a lot of emotional intelligence for other people. But it sounds, when I'm hearing you there, like maybe you've not listened to yourself enough in the back. Am I hearing you correctly? Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, it's really cool that you picked that up also, because I seem to be excellent at guiding and helping other people and seeing where their kind of weaknesses are and what they maybe need to tap into, and just that they need to resonate with themselves almost to make those changes. But for me, for me, it's really been the self-doubt and the keeping myself small. Everything else I've seemed to be like okay at evolving into, like my own fitness, my own strength, my physicalities. I've always been excelling in.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's been a barrier, a block when it comes to me putting myself out there.
What in life has taught you that you must have learned? I'm not saying necessarily, or maybe a person, or maybe an environment, or maybe a situation. What has taught you to do that, or what has stopped you from expressing that?
I think a lot of it comes from childhood, as does most of our kind of issues. So just come from childhood, basically the environment that I grew up in.
Because I know your dad was a massive part of your life.
Yeah, a huge part of my life. Yeah, a huge part of my life. Yeah, and well, I like anyway, I lost my dad last year to suicide. But prior to that, my dad was actually the one that was the most encouraging, the most supportive. He was literally like my biggest fan. So if it wasn't for him, I would not be doing the job that I'm doing now, because I was working a corporate IT role until the age of 30, and it just
Really?
was not, yeah, it just, like, it was me for a time, but then the last year of that career, I was so unhappy, like so deeply unhappy. I was depressed. I just couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to go to work. I would call in sick. My body was like manifesting all of these
It was
injuries.
rejecting the life that you were putting on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't me. So yeah, I in the 2 years prior to that, I'd found fitness for myself. I literally fell in love with it because I was a very anxious, very low person. The person that did not exist for the most part of my 20s. So it was only really when I got to my
I would
third.
argue she did exist, but something was suffocating her, like with the environment or with
Yeah,
life or with whatever, food or people or in relationships. I don't know.
just get, I think life has a way of we allow life to just kind of compact us
Yeah.
and and yeah, get
I loved your self recalibration there. We allow ourselves to, because we do. Because so
yeah,
many people will be like, "Oh, life does this to us, life does that." No, you fucking allow
yeah,
life to do that. And so often it's so subconscious because it will come from our parents or those people that sincerely want to look after us and love us and guide us, but they themselves live within this own unconscious bias where they're like, you should go and do this thing. You should get a job in corporate. You should get a family and a house and a. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, and it's that victim mentality that I have been busy stepping away from for such a long time. We are a product of our own environment, and it's up to us how we live our lives. And if you want to play the victim, you'll forever be that victim, and you'll never change. So
It's hard to unpick those stitches though, one at a time. This and some of them really hang on. It sounds like you've had a few lingering ones, even in
yeah,
these past few years. What was it about this experience, or in fact, just take us back to your dad for a second, because I know we're coming up on a year from when he passed.
yeah.
Was that did that correlate in any way in like your decision to do something like this or to make that next big step? Because I've had a number of friends who have unfortunately undergone the act of suicide or taken their lives, and it shines a big light on yourself selfishly, because you kind of feel like or I certainly did, feel very responsible or guilty, or there's a series of feelings that it kind of manifests.
Yeah, so to answer your first question, 100%, I would not have taken on board and gone on this experience if it wasn't for my dad dying and losing my dad, especially in that way. So yeah, my dad is the gift that keeps on giving. He's even gifted me even when he's not here in physical form, you know? That's the
Wow.
way I see it, because he's still me. He's my greatest teacher, and he always will be, even in his death. So yeah, if it wasn't for him passing, I wouldn't have had this experience and be this new person that I am. So I'm also the type of person that is, as difficult as it is, trying to accept something so tragic and something that you sometimes question and think that you could have maybe changed. I am to argue with like God, the universe. This is my path, and I am just going to continue to walk it as best I can with my head held high and try not to judge it too much. Obviously, suicide grief is a crazy one because
Yeah.
you just can't help but question the timeline before someone does that. So yeah, I mean, it's coming up to a year. Grief changes as the months go on, and yeah, I'm where I'm at with it right now is I'm just using it as my power, really. I spent a long time grieving, allowing myself to just be really sad, really upset, sit in cold rivers, do all the kind of energy work that I know helps me. But the unraveling process continues. It will always continue for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, you're
I'm
right.
done. Then those layers that are put upon us from birth, and even before that, from my belief from past lives, and it is our karma really to come down here and to unravel and continue that inner work.
Mm.
For me now, I realize that there comes a point when the inner needs to extend to the outer. And that's where I'm at right now. And coming off the back of this experience is like, right, you have sat with your shit and sat with yourself for a number of years now. I've done plant medicines. I've drank ayahuasca many times. I've done magic mushrooms ceremonially. I actually run retreats for people to come and do healing under the influence of psilocybin. So like, and that inner work is amazing, but there comes a time, and this is what I'm tapping into now, is when it needs to extend into the outer. So all this work that I've done on the inside now, I feel is going to start coming up in the outer. And I want to, like I said to you, just start exploring life more, get out there, do more work, share more of myself. Like I've kept,
I wanted to ask you about that. I wanted to almost ask you about connection, because we've spoken there about families and the people that you help and the people that are close to you in your kind of inner circle. But what I'm not hearing, and it may be my own bias listening as well, I totally appreciate that, is how has this idea of only looking, not only, but predominantly looking inwards affected your ability to have relationships? And I don't mean like intimate relationships, or maybe intimate relationships, but even just friendships, and because it sounds as though you have by choice lived an almost monk-like sense of isolation and inner self-reflection. But if the overwhelming thing I'm hearing there from ayahuasca and from the descendants in the way you believe you've come to be here today in this world, a lot of that comes from connection. So where are you on connection in terms of those around you, in terms of friendships, close relationships? How is that something you need to feel like you need to work on, or is it where are you with that? It sort of came to me as you were talking. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So prior to me doing this self-reflection, my life was full of people, like full of all sorts of people. I had loads of acquaintances. I had all different types of social circles. And then when I turned inwards, I did disconnect from a lot of people. Like at that time when I started reflecting, was I had a boyfriend, I had lots of social circles, I was out all the time, out drinking, out socializing, out for dinners, and then within 1 year I changed my job role, gone to a personal trainer, moved back to my flat on my own, and started that inward journey. So to answer your question, the last 5 years for me have been, you could say, disconnected from a lot of people. And I guess with my job, because I work closely with people, there has been a connection there with my clients, but it's not the connection that's one.
You have to almost maintain a sense of detachment from clients in order for you to be the best version of a coach or support mechanism for them. Otherwise, the lines get very, very fuzzy.
Definitely. And ultimately they're coming and they're paying me for a service. So the energy, the balance is not equal anyway.
No.
But so I've got a very small inner circle. Has
that been conscious? Have you I never like the idea of people saying, cut people out of my life, but I'm more like, when I've continued to grow and evolve, it's just that people haven't necessarily come with me. Not that I'm better than them at all, but I've just chosen a different path and they've chosen theirs, and that's okay.
Yeah. So not long after me doing this kind of internal journey, I switched to a vegan diet. I had quite a few injuries, which led me to go down a yogic path, which obviously is very linked to Buddhism and Hinduism. And my morals started to change. And as my morals started to change, so did the people that I wanted to spend time with. I found myself going out for dinners and out for nights out, and I felt so uncomfortable. It just wasn't resonating with me, and it just felt so wrong on so many levels. So I pulled back from many relationships, even from friends and even from family, and people that have been in my life for a long time. But I started to realize that we're so conditioned also to stick with people that we've known for such a long time. But I was like, but you wouldn't do that with a boyfriend.
It's investment bias. And you know what? Some people do it with a boyfriend, though. That's what's worse. You know, we think like, I've put 5 years into this job or this relationship, or I've known him since I was a baby. So fucking what?
Yeah.
With the greatest of respect. It doesn't mean if his habits and your habits are going to continue to complement each other and it's a healthy self-perpetuating cycle, then great. But if that person is going in another direction, of course, spend 10, 20% of your time trying to help them. But after that, you've got to let people live there. You're not the parent, and it's not about abandoning people. But I would say you've got to work twice as hard on yourself as you do on anything else, than your job, than your relationships, than anything.
Yes, yes. And I found that when I was changing myself and changing the way that I acted, it was unconsciously giving other people the opportunity to do the same.
Always.
But yeah, I definitely pulled back from so many relationships. I feel like I had to, for me to have a deeper understanding of who I am. Because up until that point, I didn't have a fucking clue who I was. I was just going with the motions of, like what you said earlier, meeting a guy, settling down, then getting married, then having kids. Blah. Like, it just wasn't my flames. I remember being awake in the middle of the night, like with my ex, just being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are we doing? So it was a bold move for me to make this split. And off the back of the split, as painful as it was and as scary as it was, I was so scared to be working on my own, like having to fend for myself and not having like that dual income, not knowing where I was going to get my clients from. I moved to half an hour away. So it was a lot, but that taught me so much about how strong I was and how much I don't need to be leaning and relying on people. So yeah, I definitely pulled back from a lot of people. I've reintegrated myself, and I've picked up some new friends and some really awesome people along the way. And I feel like now I'm in a place where I have a quality inner circle rather than a whole quantity of multiple different people that just right now wouldn't resonate with me. Like as we change, obviously, like as our internal changes, so does our external. But coming back of our experience, part of the reason why I went into this experience was
why did you go into it?
Well, to basically to challenge myself. I seek pain. Like, pain has been my greatest teacher, and instead of now avoiding it, I just go head first into it. All my injuries, any like painful workout, I like bash myself, have many cuts, and even just painful experiences with people, painful conversations off the back of all
really
of this
important.
Comes amazing things. So I like seek pain now as a teacher for me. So obviously the most painful course in the world was calling me, but also not just for that, I wanted to meet more people like me, more crazy nutters that also mindset. So yeah, big reason of me applying and signing up for this was to meet more people, and just how cool that off the back of it there's a whole bunch of us all from
loads. I always say it's not lonely, it's just less crowded. You know what I mean? There's just less freaks out there. And if we don't have opportunities like we have now with social media or with experiences like this and courses for people to go on, it can be a very lonely existence, to be fair. And you'd be forgiven for spending your life questioning yourself, thinking, why don't I settle in, and why is everybody feeling fulfilled by this stuff that I just feel empties me? So many of these fast food conversations or popcorn experiences that feel like they don't give you a level of fulfillment that other people seem to be getting from it.
100%. I felt like that a lot with people, and I was just like, I remember being at a dinner with a couple of friends, and they just spent a whole hour like talking about eyelash extensions and hair, and I was like, fair enough, like if that's what, but I was like, what are you doing, Danica, in this environment? Like, when you like, it's just not. And that was like the last time I saw them, because after that I was like, I can't fucking do this, because it come to a point where I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I had to stop putting myself in situations where I was losing out or I was being drained of energy, because I am a high energy person, and I found that there's a lot of people that just wanted to be around me just to suck the life out of me. But before I realized that, I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to be liked and accepted. So I put myself in these situations, without thinking, shit, you're leaving empty. You're right, full tank, and you're leaving empty. And then it took me days to refill my tank. So,
that's the thing. And most relationships like that, you tend to leave with a deficit, because you are the oxygen to that person's flame. You are what fills them up. But when you come out of it and you just feel hollow, or you feel like you've almost been cheated a little bit, not as though you feel bitter about it, but you just feel a bit lost as to what is this experience, relationship, substance adding to me and my existence. But when the vast majority of people are engaging in it, it can be quite difficult. And most people just continue to power on. I always talk to people about the first time they tried alcohol or the first time they tried smoking. Did they like it? And they're like, no, I fucking hated it. But I powered through, I soldiered through, and I managed to force myself into that habit. But then ironically, when they've spent 20 years in that kind of habit, when you then try and encourage them to stretch, like you and I were stretching most mornings or stuff like that, and you try and force them into that habit, they're like, oh no, it fucking hurts and I don't really enjoy it. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't enjoy the bad thing the first time you did it. And this is a good thing. I don't even have to prove it to you. I mean, like, you're a smart person. Science and whatever will tell you how good this breathing exercise or this stretching or just fucking water, just hydrating yourself. It falls from the sky for free. And I'm having to convince you to have it. It's just fucking crazy.
So true. So true. So deeply conditioned, and I think it's like easier for people to go down that self-sabotage route than the self-love route. It's
well, they get socially rewarded for it as well, don't they?
The ego just feeds into the negativity. Fear breeds more fear.
Because what they're really craving is that human connection. And when they engage in a lot of those habits that don't benefit them, what they do get rewarded with is the social reward. So they get acknowledgement and acceptance into a group that they perhaps aspire to be part of. And that becomes the reward metric that then perpetuates the habitual cycle of almost self-harm in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you finally knew that you were coming on the course, what did it feel like the sort of first day you were traveling in? You must have been buzzing. Did you identify anybody at the airports? And because when this comes out, people will have seen all of our journey, but actually they've only seen snippets of it because I think it's doing like 6 episodes or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, as we know, one day in there felt like 5 years.
I was just like...
And it was like the most insane stuff, and we were like, what did we do? Like, so yeah, I mean, the lead up to me knowing that I was going on, there was a whole surge of like confidence within myself, because I just couldn't believe that I'd been chosen and picked. I just was like, what? They want me? Like, so it gave me this like boost that I feel like I really needed. And then obviously arriving at the airport, I mean, like I said to you earlier, like, I'm super surrendered. I already knew that I was, going on some crazy journey. Like, how many people have to pack and get driven to an airport and don't know where they're going? Like, what?
It's wicked, wasn't it? Loved it.
Yeah, weird situation that most people will just never experience. So, but I was just very, very surrendered. And when I found out we were going to where we were going to, I'd already been there a few times, and you've
been Vietnam? I'd never been Vietnam. Vietnam was amazing.
It was my 3rd time. So
wow.
And my awakening started with me going to Southeast Asia. I went to Thailand, and after coming back from that trip in Thailand, that was within 1 year, my whole life was unrecognizable, because I woke up when I went to that part of the world. I remember looking around and being like, wow, these people, like, in our eyes, in the Western eyes, have got nothing. They don't have beds. There's kids sharing like one mattress, and there's 10 of them. They don't have much money. They're sweeping the streets. But I would see people up at 5 a.m. sweeping the streets and singing. They were so happy, and I could see that the happiness was coming from deep within them, and it wasn't about what they had, because they didn't have anything, in inverted commas. They were rich in life, and it was something that I couldn't unsee. So when I came home, I made changes in my life that were just basically a reflection on what I'd learned over there. It was such a culture shock for me. And so when I found out we were going to Vietnam and I was going back to Southeast Asia, there's a part of me that is over there, and that will always be over there. So I felt so calm and happy that I was going back to Southeast Asia. It was, it's a beautiful part of the world, and it's somewhere that will always hold a special place in my heart, because of what I learned off the back of it. It was a life-changing experience for me going over.
Great place to be, wasn't it? What did you feel like when you met all of the team? So the first time we got together will have been, I suppose, at the trucks, when we then got taken out, and then we all got hooded up, and then it was the river, wasn't it? So we started on the river.
Oh God, yeah. So yeah, I remember you and Scott, I think, were in the canoe boat or the
Yeah.
and do you remember when we were all like at that time we were so like we were questioning everything, the
Oh
worry of
yeah.
what
They were just like, oh,
was
walk down to the water's edge, and we're like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, and like,
like what
do
they
what? And they're like,
do.
well, just wait there. We're like,
Yeah,
should we? And then these boats just started floating down, and then they turned
yeah.
in, and we're like, should we get on, or is someone going to come out of the water, or what should we do, or
At that point, the unknown was very unfamiliar. But as the days went on in there, the unknown was something that I personally embraced because
oh,
I
I
was like,
loved it. Yeah,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
you
If
don't need
I
to
knew
know.
to come, I literally would have been an anxious mess. So it taught me even more about surrender because I was like, I actually don't want to know. And as the days went on, I got to a point where I was like, whatever you lot throw at me, I can do it. The belief in myself as the days went on, even as the hours went on, like I just got more and more solid in my belief of myself and whatever that was thrown at me, I was like, I'm just gonna give it my best shot. I don't care what it is, just go for it. Do your worst. Do your worst stuff.
So when we came round the thing and we had to jump in the water and we had that first swim and then we had that first sort of beast in and then it was all through
Oh,
the swamps and the lakes and then carrying people. How did it feel when it finally got started and like the gears changed and because we had a we had a first drop out on the first day, didn't we?
we
Yeah,
did, yeah.
bless her, Charlotte.
I remember turning around and giving her breathing advice, and then DS Foxy was like, "Shut up! Don't help her." And I was like, "Hold on, 2 minutes ago you were telling us we're part of a team and we've got to help each other." But I think she'd gone past the point of no return. To be honest, with her breathing, she was already
Panic
hyperventilating.
attack, wasn't she? Yeah.
So yeah. But for me personally, I was just blinkered. I wasn't thinking anything. I was just doing, going, one foot in front of the that was such a mantra for me when I was out there was just I was at times literally looking down at my feet and just going, come on, one foot, one step in front of the other, one step in front of the other. And that's all we can do in any situation, I
So,
feel.
yeah.
So staying present, staying in the moment is something that I've been practicing since I started my yoga journey, really. And it's a mindset, and it was the only mindset that I carried throughout that course. If I started to judge what might be to come or how many more steps I've got or what else is at the end of that tunnel or how many more times we've got to go around that swamp, I just would have lost my flow. So for me, there was very little thinking going on. I didn't for 1 minute think about handing in my armband. Never. It never crossed my mind, which I was kind of surprised at, judging by the amount of pain and suffering that was inflicted on us. Like there was just not one cell in my body that was ever gonna give up, no matter
Yeah,
how tough.
totally.
Because
100%.
also what I've been through in my life up until this point, yes, that course was painful physically. Yes, mentally I was challenged, but nothing will ever come close to what I've lived in for the last 11, nearly 12 months, dealing with my dad's suicide. So I knew that I was unshakable, to be honest, because nothing will ever be as bad as that.
So without naming any names, how did you see other team members and other sort of how did you see the group dynamic? Because some people took it very differently. Some people moaned about stuff. Some people just found the way that the DS treated them quite challenging, and everyone had a different kind of approach. How did you find the team dynamic and being with 20 strangers? I suppose.
Yeah, for me, I loved it because I'm such a people person, and it's part of my job to make people feel comfortable in my company and in my energy. So, and I'm the type of person that is very accepting for anybody, wherever they're at, what their opinions are. I love people. I'm very interested in the psychology of people and how they think, how they act, how we all interact with each other. So I loved it. I thought it was such an amazing group of people. I loved everybody. But as the days went on, I'm sure you've probably heard, there was one person in particular. I just don't like people shitting on other people. I hate people that
Yeah,
cheat. I feel like you're only cheating yourself anyway. And I never cheat. I never cheat a rep. I never cheat and anything and anyone in any way, shape, or form. So when I see that, like, I don't like to be around that. And as I mentioned previously, if I'm around people, or there's people in my energy and my company that I don't resonate with, I remove myself. But in that situation, I couldn't. So it was kind of a difficult one for me to be around that when I didn't have the choice to remove myself. It made me uncomfortable, because I just believe in treating people how you would want to be treated, and I would never cheat the family, which is what we were. But I'm also of an understanding that nobody is born like a cheat. Nobody's born a liar.
Yeah.
Nobody's born horrible. Nobody's born a murderer. Nobody's born a paedophile, or someone who commits suicide. Like nobody's born with this. So I'm on it. I have a deep understanding that we are conditioned, and life happens to us and creates these coping mechanisms and these belief systems for people. And I know that it's not her fault, but also I just feel like there was opportunities in there to speak up, to tell the truth and be honest.
Yeah, to just say, oh, I've made a mistake, or I've made a bad decision, and I'm sorry about it, and I just want to say it now, so let's move on.
Yeah, but that didn't happen, and that made it even more kind of like,
So I mean, we don't know if it's going to be in there, but how did you manage that situation? Because that did kind of come to a head at one point.
Yeah, I mean, it was the reason why I was removed from interrogation, because I basically said that I didn't fully vibe with this person. And that was when I was on my own. And then we got called into interrogation together, and I was given an opportunity to change my opinion. And I don't care whether you're stood right next to me.
That shows true character.
Yeah, if I don't resonate with something, she knew that at that point anyway. We'd had conversations, it had come up, like the Vaseline situation had come up, the military fitness test, where the reps weren't met,
the stand out the Bergens.
Yes, and the stand out the Bergens. I didn't even know that until I came back. So yeah, these opportunities had already been missed, and so yeah, when I was
that person had a few opportunities to say, yeah, sorry, like I did it because of this or that, and I made a mistake.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. So when we were brought into interrogation together, I probably wouldn't make a very good soldier, because I'd rather die being honest than stay alive, be a liar. Do you know what I mean?
Ultimately, a person like that, if you have somebody like that in your team, or if I had somebody like that on my watch, that is going to be a cancer to the team. That is going, and as you as a leader, I mean, if we were in leadership position in there, which in many aspects some of us were, and during different times and different roles that we play when we're in there, it's the leader's responsibility to identify that and to cut it out with a rusty spoon if required, because otherwise it's a betrayal on the rest of the team, because it's your job to protect the rest of the team when you identify behaviors that are going to hurt people. And ultimately, distrust and lies, if we could go so far as to say that, are things that really can damage a team and get people killed in environments where, if you say you've done something, or if you say I can rely on you, and you have clipped this up, or you have filled that person's thing up, or you've got what was required and you haven't fucking got it, then that might cost somebody their life.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have been dead a long time before that interrogation. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit frustrating. I was upset initially when I got taken out, because I could have gone through the interrogation and the white noise for a lot longer. So yeah, it was kind of a little bit frustrating, but that person actually made it to the final. It felt like, wow, you can actually cheat your way to the top.
They ultimately weren't chosen, though, with the last bit of respect to the DS, that whilst they may have meet the physical standards, they were not approved as somebody with the right values and morals that would come on the course.
Yeah, like, why wasn't it questioned deeper that someone had a Bergen 5 kilos lighter than everybody else? Like, why was that left to just go unnoticed? Because yeah, like, if we all spoke about it, and they knew anyway, because we were asked who we trusted the least, and everybody just said number 7. Easy, no questions asked, and she already knew how we felt about her. It wasn't one of them ones where we were all like bitching behind her back. Like, we called her out, gave her opportunity to come clean, and she didn't. So yeah, little bit. Look, it is a show at the end of the day. It is entertainment. But if that was a real life situation, we would have either been dead a long time ago, because we had someone who was just there to shit on everybody else to get to the top.
Yeah, you'd have tried to safely extricate them from the team. And if they wouldn't want to, if they continued to persevere, you'd be like, look, you can come along, but you're by yourself. If we get into an altercation, we've asked you to leave because you're not a positive influence on the team. So if you're choosing to come, you're coming by yourself, and you're not part of this team anymore because you're a hazard to the team.
Yeah. And if you want to be a lone ranger,
go for it. That's fine.
This is a team effort, and we had that kind of family vibe. So it's just the case. There's always one, isn't there? There's always one, and it's given us something to talk about. And I'm sure if there is footage of her removing sand from her Bergen, and
I don't think they would. I mean, they've got an obligation. Whilst the people that were in there know what happened and stuff like that, they probably do have to be very careful in not creating a public hatred of a certain individual, because that could lead down a very dark path. And we sincerely hope that person, because there's a lot of support mechanisms, there's a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists attached to the production that hopefully will be able to give that person some insights and help them with some self-reflection. Because it's very likely they are not manifesting these behaviors only on the show. It's likely these are something that they do on a day-to-day basis, most probably.
They arrived there with them and they left with them. This is not something that was just for that.
They didn't create them there.
No way. I think a few people thought that, and I was like, no way. This is such a persona. Like this is something that she's got as a protection for herself. Because
this is a strategy. This is a survival strategy that in the past was probably rewarded her. Having known a little bit about this individual, they do have a challenging life at certain points in their life. And having a greater focus on their own survival was probably very beneficial at a few times. But then realizing when you are in an environment where you can trust people and those strategies aren't required, just perhaps that person's not quite there yet. And that's a shame, but they're young enough to maybe change it if they want to. Like you said before, you've got to be willing, you've got to be accepting of these lessons in life.
Yeah. And I just think that everything's divinely timed. You know what I mean? Like you'll wake up to your own shit when you're meant to, and maybe it's not meant to be in this lifetime. Maybe you're meant to go through this lifetime living in this way, and it's not really for any of us to judge where someone is at.
Is ready, the lesson will arrive, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, but we just got to say what we see, and people can make other people feel uncomfortable, and it happened occasionally in there, but it wasn't something that got me down or anything like that. It's more unfortunate for the person themselves carrying that heavy bag around. You know what I mean? So
what was your favorite task and challenge and stuff? Because you did them all.
Yeah, I did them all apart from the very last beast thing, but I'm kind of like glad I did it. My favorite one was definitely the helicopter one. Yeah, so jumping out the speedboat and swimming, and because I won that one also, and I had a moment after I got into the helicopter and I was plonked down in between Billy and Foxy, and I'm in this war helicopter. There's like obviously beautiful Vietnamese terrain that's kind of in the background, and I just look to my left. Billy's smiling, beaming at me because he's like, well done, well done. I turn to Foxy. He's smiling at Billy because my smile is so far up. And I remember taking a photo. Yeah, I was like, this is the most amazing moment of my life. I'll never forget how it looked, how I felt, just the whole vibe around that moment was so special, something that I will just remember forever. So that was my favorite, and also the waterfall that we did.
Oh God, yeah, that was picturesque, wasn't it? Jesus,
that was amazing.
And I remember as well when we just finished that and we were sat down, you had a dragonfly lying on your knee.
Yeah,
and you were like, that's my dad.
Yeah. Because there were so many moments in the experience where I was like, "Fuck!" The one person that I want to tell about this and share this with isn't here. But then it was so bittersweet because it was like, "Well, you wouldn't be here if he was." So it's like weird, like having to accept that he's not. I want to tell him here, but I can't, and I wouldn't be here to tell him. You know what I mean? So. It was I definitely felt him in many moments in there. As we know, there was loads of like butterflies and white butterflies everywhere. And there'd be moments when it was like really tough. Like I was feeling it. I was feeling it physically and mentally. And then a little white butterfly would just fly past, and it's just those little synchronicities I feel that come at the exact right, most beautiful time that just give you that encouragement or that lift or whatever it is that you need in that moment. So yeah, I'm a believer that like we don't ever fully die, we just change form.
Yeah.
So I know my dad is he's the air that I breathe, he's the blood in my veins, he is the butterflies that go past, he's, you know, he's everywhere and everything. But it doesn't, sometimes that doesn't make it any easier, because you just want to pick up the phone to them and hear their voice and hear, like Mike would be, he would be so gassed if he knew what I've just done, what I've experienced. Like he would just be just so amazed and so proud. So it's,
But
yeah,
I would
it's been,
also argue be so proud because of what he knows it will make of you as well. And that, even without his presence, is still just as true. Do you know what I mean? You having gone through this experience has kind of pushed you through a narrow gap in existence where you're now given the opportunity to have a different perspective on life, which it seems like you're fully embracing.
I am. I am. And that's such an amazing way to put it. And we have to take the positives, don't we? Like, we have to look at things like this, because if we don't, we're just going to plummet ourselves. So it's given me more than what I could ever have imagined. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I would take from it. But yeah, physically, I'm like even stronger. I can feel my lung capacity has increased huge amounts, and it was already pretty good. Like, my heart is fuller and bigger, not just like physically, because it's so much stronger at pumping blood, but also like I just feel so full from that experience. Like, meeting incredible people, even just being chosen, like I said for you, for that was such a thing for me, because I do put myself down. I don't really believe that I'm worthy, even though on the outside it might look like that I do. Even from my Instagram, the posts that I put up, the stuff that I talk about, there was and there still is that underlying self-doubt of that I don't think I'm good enough, or I don't think I'm worthy of being successful or being seen, or, you know, all of those things. So this is just the beginning, I feel, for me. I'm not even back a week, so I'm still getting over jungle rot. I'm like flaking off and looking like a bloody 90-year-old woman. So and I know I'm just waiting for, you know, things to align for me to start walking down this new path that's been set.
So, with being as specific or non-specific as you like, because I'll be watching closely, and I'm sure other people will as well. You know, I'm excited to see what will, because when people hear this will be like 4 months later than now. You know, this won't come out until the show comes out. So, let's put our mind in 4 months ahead of where we are right now.
Yeah.
And what's one or two things that you think people would be able to see if they scrolled back to September 2022 in your profiles or in your life, or those that are close to you? What difference would they see between the time they're hearing this now in probably February 23 versus who you were when we recorded it?
Yeah. Wow. Awesome question. So I guess it goes back to me and my vision board, and me actually, first of all, just creating the person that I want to be, because there's been that self-doubt that's been kind of swallowing me up and keeping me small for so long. I need to really decide who I want to be, because we can be whoever the fuck we want to be, right? It's up to us to, first of all, make that choice, build that picture, and then start believing that it's even possible. But I want to be helping more people. Like, I know the people that I meet, and they've told me how much I've helped them change themselves, change their lives physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So I want to be doing more of that. At the moment, I'm only helping a small amount of people, and I was looking for a platform for me to stand on, for me to share my voice, because I know deep down what I've got to offer. And coming off of this has made me realize, yeah, you know what? You're fucking sick, Danica. Like, you're sick. You are amazing. And it, like,
I think some of it, when you talked about creating that person, I think that person is already there. I don't think you have to think about it. I think you just have to get out of their way. I think you
Yeah,
have to slowly, when we spoke earlier in our conversation about unpicking the stitches. So unpicking the stitches of things like who we portray we are, or feeling the obligation to look a certain way or sound a
yeah,
certain way or espouse certain quotes, and just be who the fuck you are, because that person is way more than enough. Your dad didn't admire your fucking Instagram page. Your dad loved you because of who you are. And
yeah.
if you just let people experience that person, especially with the vision and perspective that you have now, that's more than enough.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it's just about me just keeping strong in who I know I am, what I know I can offer and what I can bring to the world, and just not allowing the naysayers, like my own fear of judgment, a lot of fear behind me being judged and me saying the wrong thing, or people thinking, oh, she thinks she's it, or because for a lot of my childhood, it was made to keep small by little gaslighting comments like, oh, you're a big mouth, oh, you're a know-it-all, oh, you think you're it, and all like that. And it really does put a lid on you. And unfortunately, we grow up as adults with those same naysayers, the voices of the bullies in school, the voices of the teachers, the voices of the parents, the voices of our siblings, and all those people that are conditioned themselves. But yeah, so for me, it's about really just knocking that on the head and not giving a shit what people think about me.
Your moral
Because
compass is strong. The things you are doing and the way you are conducting yourself, your moral compass is strong. So just go with it. Don't worry if people think it's a bad thing, they're just looking at it through the wrong lens, or more often than not, it's jealousy or fear. You've got a good strong moral compass, and you've demonstrated that during your time during this experience. Is that you sadly were given an opportunity to dare and demonstrate your morals and values more than anybody else, because you challenged somebody who didn't share those strong morals and values. So
yeah,
you've got a good compass. You are where you need to be.
thank you, thank you. Well, I just think so much of the my fear of judgment, fear of that is in me. No one really does much for me to make me think that it's me. It's that, oh, that person said something horrible, because if I put a post up, I get great feedback. It's me, it's us, it's always, it's my own self-doubt, my own judgment. I'm judging myself on being judged and potentially, so it's just, it
An
is
inside
ridiculous.
job.
It is ridiculous, yeah, and it is an inside job, but it's just I'm outing those, like when you give the negative voices the soapbox, and you actually, I speak to myself out loud often, to out those voices, because they lose their power
Well, they do,
then.
yeah. They just evaporate, and the ridiculousness of them becomes very clear to you.
Yeah, yeah. If all of us actually spoke what was going on in our minds, we'd all be in a nut house,
Oh yeah,
because
if we had like a megaphone on our heads broadcasting that shit around the street.
most of us don't even realize what we're saying, because we think up to 70, 80,000 thoughts a day, and for the most part, for most of us, they're the same thoughts every day. You
Mm.
believe that? So no wonder so many of us go through life without ever changing, and having that belief in ourselves. So yeah, I'm all about calling those voices out. And
Well, look, you're doing it. You fueled it, and you've taken the steps like this show to go out there and do it. But look, I absolutely love being in there with you, and now you've got this inner team as well. This support network of all the people that have been through a similar experience, and we are 1,000,000% will be there front row cheering you on as you take these big brave steps into really showing people who you are and what you've got to offer. So, and also just want to thank you. We've tried a couple of times to get together. Really want to appreciate you taking time out of your day to just come on and be so honest and you know, be so humble, to be honest with you, and be so transparent, because that takes a lot to do as well.
thank you, thank you. Well, thank you so much for actually giving me your time, because this is such an amazing way to share my experience, and be asked these questions that I wouldn't even ask myself, to be honest with you. So and with regards to being transparent, it is like I want to be the change I wish to see, and I know that everything starts with
It
yourself.
starts
And
with you.
I have to be transparent. I have to be, for myself and for everybody around me. The world needs more transparency, more honesty, more empathy, and more emotion. Like it's okay to like not be okay. It's okay to not like be where you want to be, and it's okay to have goals and dreams and want more. And it's something that I'm also realizing and stepping into as well. I am forever a work in progress. I will never be finished and never be done. There's always something and some more work to do, and that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to work. I'm here to do the work, and then off the back of that comes, whatever life has in store for me.
God, I love that. Danica, thank you so much. That I really appreciate it. We're hopefully going to see each other long before these episodes come out. Hopefully, the gang, we're going to catch up. I should be mobile in maybe 5 or 6 weeks. So if you guys and girls have something before that, but I know we'll get together when it all comes out anyway, and then hopefully get some big events planned next year.
Definitely, I can't wait. I can't wait to be reunited with all of you, and I just feel like this is just the beginning for all
100%,
of us.
100%.
It's just so excited. Thank you.
Lots
of love. Bye.
Firefighters Podcast is put together to develop, inspire, and hopefully even motivate those individuals who have chosen to serve our communities and be part of the first responder family. It's brought to you by myself, operational firefighter Pete Wakefield. If you have enjoyed today's episode and you want to see the podcast continue, please head over to our Patreon page where you can support the ongoing efforts of the podcast. Please hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on whatever platform you're listening to. Please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.